Hello and welcome to my tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to use ASP.NET Core MVC framework to build a small project that will cover how to use views, models, controllers, how to update the menu, how to add new pages, new methods. As you can see from this slide, ASP.NET Core is like a big platform where we can use a lot of applications, web APIs and web apps. We're going to make a web application in this tutorial. MVC framework is actually part of this .NET Core, which actually used to, there are some templates and some C# classes and some built-in approaches that we're going to use like scaffolding, which will help us actually to create views quickly with little coding. So it has a lot of advantages to us, which make our application development a lot quicker. So we're going to use MVC within .NET Core. This is a diagrammatic representation how MVC works actually. So in the model portion here, we're going to show you how model can be used to create C# classes. So actually, the model is used to define data, how the application will store, process, and retrieve data. So all the data-related attributes of properties and verifications and validations and constraints, they are defined here, which actually communicate with databases if there is a database in the backend. Views are the user interfaces that end users see, and controller is actually doing all the control in the background. In other words, it's actually a bridge between the views and model. So all the requests that the end user places is actually going to the controller. And from the controller, it actually goes to the model to retrieve that specific data. Or if you are storing a new data or if you are updating new data, like the CRUD features, so they are actually communicated through controller to the model. And then from model, it goes towards the databases. So further information about these three is actually available on this link, Microsoft link as well. You can further read more about MVC. So what are we going to do today? So we're going to creating a small MVC project in .NET Core, and we're going to add some views, some static contents, and we're going to update the menu, adding a C# class in our model folder. Yeah. And then we're going to use a scaffolding feature, which actually auto-generates a lot of code for us. I'm going to explain you this code step by step, so you understand what it is exactly. But it's just helping you, like in this AI, we have a lot of shortcuts also available, which we can use to fast our application development. And then from that model, actually, we're going to create a database as well using a few commands in for database migration. And eventually, you will see some CRUD functionalities created. We're going to use these attributes in our C# class. And from that C# class, actually, we're going to make a database. And so we're going to create an entity called employee. And these will be attributes like employee ID, name, DOB, address, postcode, phone, email, start date, NI number. So that's our whole plan for today. Let's go and start with creating a new MVC project. So open your Visual Studio. I'm using Visual Studio 2022. That's my MVC, my Visual Studio 2022. And when I click on Create New Project, I see, like when it's loaded, it's like this. And I click on the Create New Project, and then you can just type here MVC. And as you can see, we got this one, which is ASP.NET Core Web Application. That's what we want to create. Make sure that the language is selected C#, not F#, because I'm using C# language. And these are the platforms where this application is compatible. A lot of other templates as well, maybe if you're building some web, mobile apps. So a lot of other stuff here, but we're going to look at MVC.NET Core only. And let's say we are building a small, let's say, HR system. So let's say you can name it anything, and if you want to store it somewhere else, you can click on it, and then you can select a different folder. Otherwise, just give it a name, click next. Okay, this is a long-term support .NET 8. Yeah, .NET 8 is okay. Oh, there's another thing here. Application type. This thing is individual accounts, Microsoft Identity platforms, or Windows. If you want to build your own user login and authentication system later, you can leave it as none. But if you want this MVC own .NET Core own individual account system, you can click on it. What happens is it will create a database behind the screen for you automatically, where you can create accounts. You can restrict certain pages for the registered users only. So for that purpose, individual accounts are, you can add it. There are a lot of built-in classes actually. You can use this authentication through Facebook, Gmail, and other Twitter account as well. But let's stick to this for now. Just click on this, individual accounts, and create. I will explain this later once we reach to that point. So this is the application created for us now, which is a web application. Right, package manager console. We're going to come back to this later when we creating our database from model. At the moment, don't worry about this. Right, let's have a look at the folder structure here now. So these are all the folders and files created for us. And at the moment, what we're going to look at, if you go to views, there are two files here. One is index.cshtml, which is our home page in this. It has a little code here, as you can see, a title, a div with a bootstrap class, text center, and we have h1, a header which just says welcome. You can give it any name here, and say welcome to ASP.NET Core. And you can add any contents here on the home page as you want, or maybe later on you can create your own home page. So this is just a bit of home page, and there's a privacy page here which has only one h1, one header, and then we have this p paragraph. View data and view bag, there are some fantastic features in this MVC which help us to display some contents from controller as well here, allowing us to run some Razor pages here, so some Razor code here. So I will come back to these as well later. So for the time being, understand that this is our application. Let's close this as well. And we have these two pages, index and privacy. Now for these pages to run, there's a controller bit here, as you can see here. This is actually simply a C# class, and the name of this is called home controller. And this is actually inheriting from the controller class. So for this reason, you will see a lot of things are happening here, and you don't see the code. It's because home controller is inheriting from the controller class. So for now, there's a bit of code here that we'll come back to this here. But for now, just understand this. There are two methods here, which is called iActionResult, as you can see here. One is called index, return view. So what it does, it's actually load this index page. So for any view that you have, you must have a method here to load. If you don't have any method, it will not load. So this one, privacy, for that we have this one, privacy page. Yeah. So when I run this application, it's actually running on IIS server, which is automatically should be configured in your Visual Studio installation. Right, so it's loading my page now, and here is the page. So this is the home page which says welcome to ASP.NET Core, which is just this h1 and a small paragraph, and this is our privacy page. So these are the two pages only at the moment in our HR system. Let's add another static page here, contact page. Now, to add the contact page, I need to have a view first. So you can just type this code, or if you want, you can just quickly just copy paste here, and you're creating another view. Remember, in C# class, you cannot have two methods with the same name. So I'm going to make it as contact. Now, this will be okay. See that? Now we have three methods. One is index, one is privacy, the second one, and the third one is contact page. Now, if you're looking at the view folder, home folder, we have only two indexes. Sorry, two files only. One is index, one is privacy. We need to create one more, contact. So I'm going to right-click on this, add view, or maybe you can right-click on the home folder as well. That's all up to you. Choose this empty option for now. And let's create an empty razor view. And don't call it index 1 or index. Call it exactly the name of the method here. You see that? So I'm going to remove this index 1, and it should be as contact.cshtml. So as you can see now, our view is created, contact.html here in our home folder. Let's add some contents here now. Say P. So in this paragraph, I can just write here anything. You can visit us or below detail. So let's say we want to add something here, some email addresses, phone and addresses of email. Let's add some. Let's add some HTML tags. Alright, so what I quickly did to save some time and not to make video really lengthy, I just typed a few tags here, and I can add them there. So that one is for address. It's just like a dummy address and phone number and some email address. So I added that to a contact page. Let's run our contact page now and see how it looks like. So, right. So we have home, which is our page, privacy, but where is the contact page? So let's type this manually here because the menu is not updated. So let's type contact. So the contact page exists with our address, our phone and email, but it's not loading in our menu. So for that, to appear it in our main menu, we have to go to inside the views. So these are our content pages, which we want to display to our end users. But if you scroll down here, there's a folder, shared folder. These are the files which are related to these applications. So if I click on underscore layout, this is actually called a partial view, a view which sharing the contents with all the other pages. So the header and the footers and all these are actually explained or provided in this file. So you're going to come back to all of these contents, but at the moment I just want to look at this bit only, which is actually the navigation menu of this website. So in this menu, there are only two list items. One is for home and one is for privacy. I need to create one more for my new page, contact. So if I add this new item here, now in this list item, there's a bootstrap class nav item, which is built-in classes. Bootstrap is actually shared here. So we have an anchor tag, which is also using two bootstrap classes. And then we have some other attributes like ASP area, which doesn't point to any value at the moment. But these two are the most important for us. One is ASP controller. It's asking us that which controller are we referring to, because you can have as many controllers as we want or as we need. So for now we have only home controller. Here the name is written only the first word, not the whole controller. Controller is dropped when we're referring to them in paths and addresses. So when you have more than one controller, you have to refer to the correct controller. And the second important attribute here is the ASP action. Which method are you referring to? So because I copy pasted it referring to privacy, but we don't want to refer to privacy, we want to refer this to the contact method. That method is this method inside the controller that we created a while ago. Now if I go back to the shared layout, now I have to update the text which people see. So you can't have three items with home, privacy, privacy. So we have to update this to the correct text, which is contact. So now we have three list items: home, privacy, contact. Yeah, this is a new item that we just copy pasted here. Let's run the application and let's see how it looked like. Right, it worked. So as you can see here now, this is our home page, privacy, contact. As you can see, I simply added the address tag and the phone and the email. The same you can add any images, paragraphs or contents here to the home page. For example, let's add a paragraph to this. And so let's go to Epsom where we can get some text. So I'm just going to copy this paragraph just to show how we can add contents. So if I go to my code again, which is here, and if I go to my index page, and I can just create a paragraph here, GSP, right? Within that paragraph, I can copy paste that paragraph contents. And if I go back to that paragraph, I can just copy this heading as well. Let me close this now. This is a lot of Epsom where you can copy paste some dummy text. So let's put that H1. Yeah, within H1, you can copy paste where it comes from. Right. So if I go back to my application running now and refresh it, that text is not coming up. There is an option here. It says hot reload. Yeah. So you don't have to stop and play it again, but instead, if you put this, sometimes for major changes, it may not work. So you have to stop and run the application again. But for adding some static contents like headers and images and paragraphs, it's not a big problem. So you can just click here, hot reload, and look, you see, another header and another paragraph is added. What if we want to add some Google Map here as well? So let's go to map.google and let's pick up anything, any location in London. Let's say this is the location where our office is located, or where we want to. You can choose any address in the world. You go to Google Map, then click on this share link here, and we don't want to just share the link because it doesn't have an HTML code. Instead, we go to embed option. Within embed option, you click on copy the HTML, because it's actually the code is embedded with an iframe tag. So it's just ready-made code. You copy paste it. Let's close the map. Go back to your code inside contact page, and you can copy paste here. So your map is copied here just below your address and phone and all this. Just give it a BR so it doesn't stick too close to this phone number. Or maybe you can make an HR as well in between here, let's say, which is simple HTML tag as we all use them. So again, just click on the hot reload. Let's see how does it look like now, our contact page. Right, look. So we have a horizontal row, line, as you can see here, and that's our dynamic Google map. I don't like it like this 600 pixels. I don't like pixel at all, because for mobile responsiveness, you should use RM, EM, or percentages. So if you go to this code, which is just simple HTML code, iframe src, and if you go all the way to other attributes, so the width is 600 pixels. I want this to cover the available 100% width, so I will just make it 100% instead of leaving it without anything which is meant as pixels. The height is okay, 450. Style, if you want to change this to percentage as well, you can do it. If you want to give it a border 1 or 2 dash dotted, or how you like it. Right, and then allow full screen, all this. Yeah, you can leave these as it is if you want. Just click on hot reload now again, and let's go back to, that's how our page look like, contact page. So we added a new page, contact. We added H1, we added this paragraph, we added address, phone, email address, and we added a dynamic Google map. And in the home page, we added a paragraph and a header, H1, and you can add anything you want to add here, any privacy policy. So what we've done so far, we added some content, static contents, some text, some Google Maps, some addresses, some phone, emails, and a new page here, which is contact page. In the next exercise now, we're going to add some more dynamic contents. So in this part of tutorial now, I'm going to looking at this point now, adding a C# class in model folder, to creating relevant controllers and views. Let's have a look at our project. So we looked at views, how UI works. We looked at controller as well. We added our own method as well there. Let's go to the model folder. Inside the model folder, there is a class, C# class, which is built in. Just leave this for now. Let's create our own model here. Let's right click on it and add a class. Because we are creating this for the HR system, in HR system we have a lot of classes and entities, but I will only looking at only one of them now. Let's say employee. So we create a class employee. Okay, within this class, I need to have a set of attributes. These attributes, I'm going to design this class according to my desired attributes. For example, end of the day, I want this table created from this class, which should have like employee ID as a primary key, name, DOB, address, postcode, phone, email, start date, and NI number. So if I want a database which should have these attributes, an entity employee, so I need to design my class accordingly. So my class should have those attributes. So let's create those attributes. Sorry, let me remove this text. Let's say employee ID. So this should be type integer, isn't it? So I'm going to make it type int employee ID, and then so I created this attribute public int employee ID get set. I can make it private and implement that all this encapsulation, but just leave it for now. Let's make everything public for now. Focus is on implementing this project in as easy way as possible, and then later on we can add all those security stuff. So the next one I want to add is public string name get set, and you see there's a lot of shortcuts here as well that you and actually the IntelliSense is helping you to create these attributes. So the next one I'm creating, it is suggesting me to create something with int age get set, but I have different plan. I want to make it DOB as date of birth. I don't know why it's not just picking up its own stuff. Right, I will set it later. Get set. Yeah, actually that should be type date time. Now there's another issue here that C# does not have date. It is date time. Yeah. I will come back to this again later. We have to convert this into date later when we're displaying it. So just keep this in mind. We will have a little problem with this that we're going to fix later. So for now, how many attributes I created? Public int, employee ID, public string name, get set, public date time, DOB, and the next one is public string address and get set. The next one is public string city. Yeah, we can add that one as well. And public string, and then we have, let's say, postcode, get set. We can't put the whole address in one attribute because that's a bit of a problem when it comes to normalization. It's violating certain rules like the first normal form. Right, the next one is public say string phone get set, and then public string email get set, and then the last one should be, let's say, public again date time start date get set, and then the next one could be yeah, I think this should be sufficient, isn't it? Already a lot of attributes. You can add a lot of these, as many as we need. So for now, that's sufficient. Now, so we have ID, name, DOB, address, postcode, phone, email, and start date. So this is our class that is created in our model folder. As you can see in the model folder, we have this employee class now. So let's have a look at the next part of this now. If we go back to our diagram, so the model is done. So for this model, we need to create controller and views. So let's have a look at this, how to create those controllers and views. Right, to create the controller for this model that we have employee here, let's go to controller folder, right click on it, go to add, select controller. Right, so we have a few options. One option is that we choose this. So if you want to do all your code yourself, then you can have this option as well. You can create a model and then all the methods associated, and then you can, connect it to your model. I will go for this option because nowadays in this AI time, everybody wants quickly build application. That's why we have low coding tools like Power Apps and WordPress and all this. So let's go for something which can quickly build an application for us with little effort. So I choose the third option here, which is Model View Controller, MVC Controller with views using Entity Framework. So what it does, an MVC Controller with actions and razor views to create, read, update, delete, and list entities from Entity Framework data context. So we choose this one. This is called Scaffolding, which actually creates auto-generate a lot of code for you. So when you click on that, there's something you have to choose from the model class. So there are a number of classes built in here, but we're going to go for the one that we created, which is this one. So HR system.models, as you can see on the right side here as well, this class exists. So I choose that one. When I click on this, Adobe DB context, it is available below here as well. So we're going to choose that to create this connection for us. You don't have to do much here. Just choose this class from which you want to create controller and views, and choose application DB context, which is for this project. If you have more than one project open in one window, hr_system.data. Yeah. You can't click on it now. So I'll show you in a second what does it mean. Now we have these generate views, reference script libraries, use layout page, the one we have. So what it does, it will link with these layout page automatically, the one we visited a while ago. Now to this controller, you can give it any name, employees, controller. The thing is, my class name is employee, and this is employees. I prefer to keep it as my class name, employee controller. I removed that S, which is automatically given to this for its own reasons. Let's click on add now. It's going to take a while because it is creating the controller as well as all the corresponding views as well for us. Right, so I got an error here which says there was an error running the selected code generator. The entity type employee requires a primary key to be defined. So we have okay, let me cancel this one now. Let's close this. So it says that employee ID is not detected as a primary key. So there are two options. I just declare it as an ID or employee ID, then it will pick it. But I want to keep it as it is, short employee impede ID. Let me try another option here, if that hopefully work, and that is there's some annotation that we can add key. Right. So for that key to define this, to identify this as a key, it is not recognized because it belongs to a class. Let's go to potential fixes. This is a class. You see, if you forget the class's name, I don't remember the class's name. I just get help from this built-in system. So there is, when I type the type key, I get this option for potential fixes. The class name is DataAnnotations, which is in component model system. So just click on that. Look, that thing is gone now. So the EF entity framework will recognize this as a primary key. Another thing you can do as well, while we created this data annotation class, you can add some constraints or rules. For example, I want this to be required. Required means what? Like not null in databases. So that means no row will be created without a name. So let's say DOB is optional. Sometimes we don't need to go for that specifically. But postcode and address should be required. So let me type here required. Other attributes that you think needs to be compulsory. In my case, this is an HR system, need to have phone number. It needs to have an email address. So these are mandatory. So for that reason, I can, one more important thing I can do here as well, because the system will store my date of birth as that time, I can do something for that here as well. If I quickly add something here, for example, there's a built-in attribute here for this as well, and that is date, data type, and then date, data type dot date. So what it does, it will actually convert this date time format to date only, which will save us that time stamp here, because we don't need to store the time somebody was born. We just need the year and the month and all this. The same thing we can do for the start date as well here. I can just copy paste that code from here, this one, and I can use it here. Yeah, it's already here. Yeah. So we added some rules here that we define this EMP ID as a key. We define this one. Let's go a little bit, make some space. This one required. The name is required. We declared this one, the date time as date, and the address is optional, though we're going to add them. City and postcode is also required. With certain attributes we put required, that means they must be inserted. There are a lot of changes you can do here. For example, you can add one more thing here as well, that you can limit someone's name to certain attributes, to certain characters. For example, look, automatically the intelligence is showing me that string length 50. That means there should not be any name inserted more than 50 characters. It's actually stopping people from entering, copying, pasting some paragraphs or text in the wrong field. So sometimes it's good to put some rules, like there will be no name more than 50 characters, and the name is a must because of this required feature. So this is the rule for the name. This is the rule for the date, time, date of birth. Address, we left it as a normal attribute, and city as well. For the postcode, we put the required annotation on the top of the postcode. That means it's required. And the phone number is also required. And the email address is also required. And here, the date, time, for the start date, this annotation will convert them into date. Because in the C# by default, it's date, time, no date. Yeah, so there's no option. So we worked on it using this data annotation class. We improved this class. Let's try again, but before I try, let me rebuild it. So sometimes it's good to rebuild the application because it needs to update certain references and classes. Right, so we rebuilt the application because we made some major changes. Right, let's go back to controller, right click, and add controller. And again, I choose this third option. Click on add. Right, let's choose our class that we created, which is employee, inside the model folder here. Then we choose application DB context and leave everything as it is. If you want to make it employee as a singular or plural, up to you, just leave it for now. Click on add. Right, beautiful. Look at this. There are two major changes on this Solution Explorer. Number one, employee controller is created, which has this employees controller, inheriting from controller, application DB context, which is actually a class, and an object is created here for this private read-only, which will help us actually talk to the database. We are coming to this in a few minutes. The database is not created yet for this. So we have these index. What it does actually, it's sending some data about employees, all employees, putting them in the list and sending it to the view using async await. Yeah. So this is called I forgot the name for it. What do you call it? This is called language integrated query. So it's like select static from employee, sending a list to this. We're going to talk about link quite a lot in the coming exercises. So this is also another link exercise, which actually looking for a specific employee by ID. If an ID is equal to null, so return not found. If the ID is found, what it does, it will return that employee to this object, which is var employee, and then that employee is actually sent to the view. So there's a lot of code created. I'm going to go through this code, but have a look at what methods are created. Index, which is the home page. Now, when these methods are created, like index, detailed, create, yeah, as you can see here, this is to load a form actually. And beautiful, look at this. Validate anti-forgery token for security, HTTP post. Because this create is actually creating a new row, and the built-in bind property ensuring that only these attributes data is passed into this method, yeah, avoiding any security issues. And then we got this edit here. One edit is to load the data, and this edit is actually to update the existing data. Yeah, so this one is just to load an existing row. This one is to updating the data inside database. So all these delete. This is the CRUD features. Create. So we got some methods here for create here. Yeah, we got read. So we got detail here. See that? This one. So we got all the CRUD functions are automatically auto-generated. This is called a scaffolding feature at MVC, which is amazing. So we got create, read, which is detail. Then we got edit, and then if you scroll down here, we have delete. So all the CRUD features, functions are automatically created here. Now, before we go to the code, let's look on the right-hand side. Another folder is created inside views. And look at that, beautiful. So for create, this view is created, which will actually load a form with all these input fields to enter like the name. You see that the name, the DOB, the address, the city, the postcode, phone, email, and the start date. And then there's a button to submit. And if you look at delete, it's actually loading some data, asking you permission to delete before you delete it. So this is called the razor syntax, yeah, with displaying data from the model. We're going to load it in a few minutes. And this is the detail. And we got this edit. And this is index, which is actually a table which displays all the employees that we inserted with all those CRUD button features like edit, detail, and delete. Now, if I try to run this project now to see the difference, remember we had one controller before, but now we have two controllers. So if I click on this, it says home controller, yeah, and this is and privacy, and then we have contact. Now, if I enter here that employees, yeah, to load the employees home page, which is the employees index page. Let's see what we get. We're going to get an error message, which is expected. Yeah, this is the page. So we are trying to load the employees home page, but now we have model exists, controller exists, views exist, but the database does not exist yet. Yeah. So we have to create a database before we actually load this new controller. Now our model is created. In this diagram, we created employee class. Then from that class, we created controller, which is the employees controller. And the views are automatically created thanks to scaffolding feature with a lot of code. Now, all these steps are done. We need to create actually a database now for this model. So we can apply all the CRUD features. That is, code is already generated by scaffolding feature. But now to practice those CRUD features, we need to have a database behind the screen. So for that, let's go back to our project. And to run some script, you can go to Tools and Package Manager Console, or it's already open here as well. So we have to write some code. If you go to Solution Explorer on the right-hand side, if you go to Data, inside Data, if you look at Migration, there is a piece of code here which is actually created. This is the application DB context that we refer to when we're creating controller. So this is actually dealing with our databases, our employee that we were creating. Now we need to create a database. So for our database, we have to write a few coding scripts here. For example, let's say, have a look on right hand side of this migration folder while I'm typing some code. So I have to type here add migration, and here let's say EMP database setup. Okay. So add migration is a command, employee database setup. I'm just creating a database setup which will actually create me eventually a database. Just click enter. It says build started, build successful. When I did this, you see there are some big changes here in this application DB context. Look at this. A new a name is created here with employee, create table. And what we got here, the column employee ID, which is column type int. You see that? And then we have name, another column created, and varchar. And we got DOB, date time, address, and postcode, and phone, and email. These are exactly according to our class. So we have a new file also created here. Do you see this one, which has all this code? Now we have to run one more command after this as well, which is actually called update -database. So it will create a database for us based on these rules, as you can see on the screen up there. Right, it's all done. Excellent. Now we have this code generated for our database table behind the screen. Let's run this application now. Okay, so if you go there, so we have home, privacy, contact. Right, so where is our, let's update our menu first, because in our menu we don't have that employee yet. So close. If you all remember, I have to go to the views. Inside views, I go to the shared folder. Inside the shared folder, this is the partial view, which is called layout. Right, I don't have to create another menu because we want everything in the same main menu. I just create another item here, like the way I created contact a while ago. So I copy paste contact. Now this list item, how many list items we have? 4 now. Home, privacy, contact. This one I want to make it for the employee home page. What is the employee home page here? The employee home page is index. So now if I go to this code, I don't need to change any nav item, these classes, but I need to change these 2 attributes. One is called ASP controller, which is referring to the home controller. But my data, the one I want to run now, is not in the home controller. It's in the employees controller, as you can see here. Yeah, so my home page here is this one. So for that, I need to go back to my layout, and instead of home, I will type here EMP employees. Again, which home page I want to refer. Now 2 index pages. One is here in the home index page, which is already loading there, up here. But now I want to refer to this home page for this menu. So here I'm just going to type here the file name, which is index. And what should be my name here? This text, it should be like EMPLOYEEL. Let's say employees. So it will show me the home page of employees. So you see I made 3 changes here in this list item. One, I give it the correct controller name, which is employees, not home anymore. The second, the action, I give them the index name. So this index is inside the home, which is here, this index. Now this index is not the same index. This index is inside here employees, this one. So you see, now I have 4 items in my main menu. Home, which is the default static home, privacy, contact. Now this one is actually my index page for employees. Let's have a look now, run our application. So that's our default home page. We got privacy, contact, which is our contact page, and let's have a look at our employees. Beautiful. So it's loaded. You see, we got name, DOB, address. We're going to change all of them, including some CSS styling to make it look good. But anyhow, let's come back to this first. It doesn't load anything because we don't have anything. So according to the CRUD, the first C stands for create. So let's create something first. Let's say I'm creating something, let's say John Doe, and let's say date of birth is 0101, and let's say it's 1980. And address is, let's say, the Hamlet, and let's say London, and that's E1 to XY, whatever. And then we got some phone numbers for John Doe and at gmail.com. And when he started, let's say he started on 09/09/2021, and let's click on create. Look, another row is created for us. Let's say make another one. Oh, sorry. Let's say, and then we got this one. His date of birth is, let's say, this. I got this, and address is H2, and his number is this, and his email is and his start date is this one, 20. Create. So we have some employees created. Now this is the create option works. This is the edit option. Let's say we made a mistake. He doesn't work on 2. He is living on 25. And let's say his phone number is not this one. We made a mistake. It's 7. So in that case, maybe his start date was not 09, it was 01. So now have a look. You see 01, we change the phone number, we change the address. So the CRUD work, create, edit work, detail, if you want to see the detail. We can add images and all other stuff as well later, but try to understand fundamental concept now. What if I want to delete someone? Click on delete. Now it's asking you, do you really want to delete this? Let's say yes. Now look, that employee is deleted. So all the CRUD feature also work: create, read, update, delete. Yeah. So let's have a quick look what we've done so far. So we added some contents like H1 and paragraphs. We added some address and phone and email and Google Map. And this is actually a new view added contact to the existing class home. Then we added another class, employee. And to the employee, we added actually, let's go to record. So we added this class, which is here, employee class. So in this class, we added all these attributes and data types and stuff. And then we had a problem that the system did not recognize employee ID. So we added the key annotation. And then we added some other annotations for security as well, like the string length, and the required features and date time. And when we added the class, from the class we added actually this controller using scaffolding feature. So what it does actually, it has all the CRUD methods for create, read, update, delete. Yeah. We're going to go through these methods in another tutorial in detail when we want to make some changes here. And then from that controller, we created these views, which is like a home for the employees, edit page, detail, delete, create page. And another thing we've done here as well is the layout. As you can see here, we added 2 more navigation items here. One is for contact, one is for employee. Another important thing for you guys to understand, what happened to your database, which is created using this migration setup. Yeah, that database has a connection string that you will need when you are deploying this project on the cloud. See, that's the connection string to your database. This is your database name actually here. Yeah, I hope you like and enjoyed this. Now you might be struggling where is exactly your database file is. So for that, you go to, where is that? View, View. Inside View, if you go to SQL Server Object Explorer, okay, so that's our HR system project. Let me see. You have quite a few database SQL servers. System, no, that's that one. Here we got. This is the database. Right. So within this database is actually created for the user ID, login, and those. These tables are created by the system itself, which we will come back later to this in another exercise, how we can restrict certain views to the registered users only. But if you go to the employee, this is our created table. Now look, employee ID has a key. It's because of, if you go to our class, it's because of this. Yeah. So that's our employee ID. We have name, DOB, address. All our data is actually defined here in this database. This is our database file. So if you want to change anything or refresh or something, so that's your database file that we created. View as a designer. So if you want to see your data in a designer view, you can view them here as well. So we've gone through all the steps, and an MVC project is created in application.NET Core. So we covered all these topics, and this database is created in our database using these attributes. Thank you for watching.